This presentation connects our strategic plan to the changing shape of secondary schools, outlining an ambitious but achievable shift for the organisation. I want to make sure that as many people as possible understand, critique and contribute to the ideas that will shape our success. At present, the foundation is strong and well ordered, particularly around our programme delivery. We've consistently proven that along with our allies we can affect educational policy. We're well established across many networks and with other institutions, and we've grown well since 2002 when schools were obliged to deliver citizenship within the national curriculum. Looking ahead 3 years, the position is likely to be different for us. Promoting good education for citizenship will need to make the transitions that succeed in the new educational environment. Our reputation should still be a calling card, but our content and presentation will need to be refreshed. We'll need to be persuasively perpetuating a belief in citizenship education as an educational good. We'll need to move to a more market-based delivery to school users, but much more of this later. And we'll need to reach our audience through permission-based relationships with individual schools and teachers as the number or nature of educational intermediaries decreases and teachers will be less networked, so we'll need to be in closer contact. The principal shift for our delivery will be what we're calling a platform model, creating a place where people will return to us as often as possible as a first port of call. Previously, our relationships took advantage of common networks such as local authorities and advisors in order to make teachers aware of our programs. These products, as they may appear to them, such as Paying for It or Giving Nation, had to use networks or cold calling to find the most interested teachers and then support them through a website for each program. Now we must build a more direct relationship, needing less intermediaries. We need to make teachers, schools and chains aware of what we offer and integrate this into a single platform, a first port of call where people know who we are and what we stand for, and we know them and we know what they need and want. This platform has several simultaneous functions which form the brief for its design. Firstly, it must clearly present our programs as attractive options. It must support good customer relationships with educational settings, building loyalty and trust that we will deliver what they need. We also need to build information about our audience. We need to present additional opportunities that we think they'll value, acting as a gateway to other complementary programs or organizations. And implicitly, we need to advocate for best practice for high quality, effective, highly valued citizenship education. Redesigning this should allow us to present a refreshed version of citizenship education. Importantly, this should take all our current players with it, signal a new type of delivery for the subject when the curriculum changes, perhaps support a more cross-curricular application if less specialists are in schools. It may be best to lead with applied aspects of citizenship, as enlivening the smaller curricular content. It should have an easily used name for middle managers to promote to senior leaders, implying its value to school outcomes. And elements of it should sound new to fit in with the school's sense of transitioning. So here, to kick off our thinking and give us something to work from, I want to use an example name and describe possible content, picking up on ideas that are currently under consideration, not as a final proposal, but to get a feel for how we could come at this afresh. The graphics are going to be rubbish, as we are at this point considering the concepts. Suppose we call the platform Citizen Academies, implying it's the place where academies will come for content about developing citizens. We might have a subheading like Fulfill Your Power and Potential, which connects to what schools aim to do, but this time in relation to social development and not intellectual development for students. We need a pitch, a kind of raison d'etre that talks straight into why this should be part of a school's offer. For instance, stating boldly that education has 3 purposes. The first is, of course, to develop students' knowledge, intellectual capabilities and skills for lifelong learning. The second is to support students to become citizens who will sustain and progress society in the manner of their choosing. And the third is to help students to recognise what skills and abilities they've developed and how these can prosper their own and others' lives. Now, of these three aims, the first is very familiar. It's the kind of preoccupation of the current curriculum review. The second isn't so mainstream anymore, but once elaborated, it's clearly important, as they will see. And the third is about accreditation, but accreditation not for the school's benefit, showing that they can achieve good grades, as Ofsted would rank them, but for the students. That each person leaving education should have a good picture of what they're good at, of where they're vulnerable, how to make good choices for their own career, and also how to make good choices as a committed and effective citizen. That last point isn't tested through exams. It comes with supported experience. And we're going to push home the need for that, pointing out how important it is and how poorly it's done at present. So here are a few examples of how the platform can present the issues that are not simply curriculum-centred. For instance, many of our options in life relate to being consumers on one hand, in a political system on the other, and also members of a shared economy that doesn't always work if everyone is just out for themselves. So where does this leave us, each one of us? And how does it relate to our everyday choices? Do we know enough to make the best choices in the long run? Let's talk about everyday citizenship. Particularly if the world is changing all around us. And a cheaper football shirt might mean worse conditions for the person who makes it, or a greater likelihood of climate change, or friction between nations. And we keep hearing about social responsibility, but so many people seem to be getting away with having very little. All ends of society seem to be playing the system, not contributing to it. If I play my part, how do I know everyone else will? And Britain changes more every day, and we're expected to cope with all that. The haves seem to get all the opportunities. Inequality is growing. What can be done about that? And shouldn't I resent people who make it less stable? And more traditionally, how is it all set up such that I'm told I've got political power and potential to change the world, but no one seems to be able to sort it out? So Citizen Academies provides the lessons, the opportunities, the guest support, the bridges and signposts to help develop your students in the life of your school so that they find their power and reach their potential as citizens. What's more, we show you how to help them recognise just what they've been given as their rights and powers, how to use that to shape the world of the future. Citizen Academies shows your students how everything that they are learning at school connects to the bigger issues in life, and how those big ideas need taking into the future to face new challenges. So thinking about what that means for us in-house, well, the one great thing about this web platform is that to many extents it's been already modelled to us through Go-Givers. They've had to create a wider offer to schools who don't have to deliver citizenship education. This is one reason we should just work on the secondary settings, extending to post-16 educational settings where possible, and keep Go-Givers going just as it is. This would also mean splitting off our policy and business-facing site, leaving the teacher sites to service those audiences. Does this mean a big change internally? Not really. I mean, thinking firstly about the practical changes, it's mostly about presenting to teachers content that excites them through resources they'd love to use. Although we'd have to reach out through their networks in order to build the profile, and make sure that we're hearing regularly about their preferences and respond in a consolidated way. Our staff are still committed to project delivery in the office, and they might each manage their own website, but these feed into the main interface, and similarly their databases feed into the central one from which they can see all info from other projects. This then becomes the hub that builds our platform and convinces funders why we're good to partner with. It validates our numbers and our reasons to be trusted to promote and succeed in new ventures. But those are the program-related aspects. How does that fit into the rest of our internal organisation? In the bigger scheme, there are 4 areas of action which we must attend to. Firstly, we've got to convince people that the big issues that we bang on about are as important as we believe they are. Secondly, we've got to show ourselves to be trusted educational partners with strong pedagogical know-how that will affect those big issues. Thirdly, as we've said already, we need attractive programs and resources that actually make this happen. And fourthly, we've got to be good at attracting partnerships and funders who share our concerns. So that amounts to 4 types of message needing to be communicated well to 4 different audiences. Firstly, big issues to policy and thought leaders, communicating to people who want educational policy support, to people who deliver education to students, and to people who want to support young people to become active citizens. So in summary, we need to pin down very carefully the factors that will make this work and also assess the risks. We need to create a regular go-to site that has day-to-day content like current affairs and new tips and tools. We need to deliver the right products in quality, tone, content, usability. We need to generate enough customers. Teachers will take our programs and demonstrate our value to funders. This also means having enough programs to support the core offer. There needs to be a lot going on, more than we currently do. And so in practice we need to expand our program to sponsors. We also want to work out what other levels of income stream can spin off from having such a good regular audience. And we need to build our big reputation, probably through big names, trusted backers, people who associate with our projects. And where are the risks? Well, schools are busy with other stuff. They may not be interested, they may be otherwise occupied right now. And at the moment, schools and academies are gearing up to competition to get in more numbers, to build themselves up, often through pushing academic priorities at the cost of social ones. And we're vulnerable to competitor agencies who present a diminishing view of citizenship and offer support to the smaller curriculum in their package, making our offer feel redundant. We have to be careful not to create an over-costly, unviable business model. And we have to get ourselves in shape, but not become preoccupied with internal reform and lose the big issue message, which is what we'll need as much as anything else to make this work. So that's the summary. What's next, or maybe what's first as we make changes? We've already been assessing the kind of technological changes, but before that, the brief and the logic for them has to be watertight, including any changes in image or name. And each development group will now spend the next month applying their expertise and thinking to different dimensions of the changes. We'll need a lot of help from trustees and from other partners to add to our capabilities in areas outside our expertise or that simply we haven't got time to handle internally. And we need to be confident that we've got the brief right and go for it quickly so that it's highly visible in the next academic year. A busy year ahead.